host, Adela Chikoto. Today we'll be talking about pornography and sexting. Here to help me are my friends
Sibro, Lunta,
Dumase,
Effie.
Now let's not lie. Pornography and sexting are quite the in thing now, Everybody's doing it. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people who are in relationships or now what we call flinging, are sort of engaged in this. But before we get into that, can someone just give us a definition of what pornography is?
It could be defined as describing or showing sexual acts in order to cause sexual excitement.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And does anyone have any other definition?
Pornography was actually derived from the Greek word pornographos, I think, which means to be written, to write about prostitutes, if I'm correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And for sexting, what is sexting?
Well, read. The act of sending and receiving sexually explicit images to mobile phones.
And of course, now we know that sexting isn't just that. From the Urban Dictionary, it talks about how it's also done through voice notes on WhatsApp. You can send videos, also just even texting. So basically, you role play the actual acts, but while texting. Now, what do you think is the cause of all this?
Whatever you're exposed to. Okay, so what your surrounding is. Sometimes the conversation you have with people, the things you're watching, it might start, of course, at a very small, very small place. Like, I can give an example. There's this girl. She's now, of course, about 17, 18. When she was the age of 6 or 7, her male cousin, I could say, drove her, not necessarily like forced her, but tricked her into having sex with him. And the pretext was mom and dad do it as well, so why can't we? So as she grew up, she ended up trying to find out more, okay, what else happens, and then now she has a problem where she's addicted to watching porn, she's addicted to masturbation. So those are some of the things that can actually cause masturbating and pornography or sexting.
To add on to that, I feel like also curiosity, because in a very African setup, we're not allowed to talk about this openly, and because you see, like, your friends have once said it to you, like, what are they talking about? And obviously you Google, and obviously the first thing that comes up is pornography. So you are basically tempted to watch because you want to learn more about it, and then obviously it turns into addictions and all sorts of stuff.
And are there any other causes?
When you feel it, you feel it. I don't know. I think the term is to be sexually excited. I think as much as curiosity and being tricked into it, sometimes nature calls. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. We're adolescents. We experience these things. There's some people who don't know how to control it, who don't understand what they're feeling inside. Does that make sense? And
Basically sexual frustration.
not even sexual frustration. It's you grow up, you're growing, right? You don't even front with me that you've never felt like katengening is when you see a cute guy, right? That is also nature calling. Of course, we know how to control it because we can just say, hey, then do we know. But some people don't know how to do that.
And would you say that it could be also caused by idleness, having nothing to do, that you just sort of then...
But why would that be the first option to watch?
Because there's so many things that you can do.
But it is due to idleness.
Yeah.
Yes, but not always.
Some people don't like books. Some people don't like movies. Some people don't have friends.
Exactly, but we're just saying...
But like as teenagers, obviously, like the first time, like we get like a bundle or something, we want to download music. Why would porn be like the first thing?
Different mentality.
Exactly. So it's not everyone. It's some people.
And we could also say it could be dating. It's how people date nowadays. We talked about music a few weeks ago and how people now take these song lyrics and make them, they take it to heart. So, in music videos, you sort of have, not music videos, but like just in even just the lyrics, you have them, playing with a number of girls or the other way around. Do you think that could be another cause, that it's just sort of become the way people date, That's what people call it.
feel like it does trigger stuff, especially the like music videos. They're now depicting like very sexual nature. So obviously when you see it, you're kind of curious, and how she was saying, you get like a ting. What do you call like a ting? Katingening. And you're like, let me just find out more about this, and it leads you to that. Yeah.
But does it give lasting pleasure?
Not at all.
No, it's temporary. And I think that's why most people go back to it, because they want that temporary pleasure, right? They keep on going back and going, because if you gave permanent, pleasure, I don't think people would keep on going back to porn or masturbation or anything. But because it's temporary, they end up going back to it.
Effie, you look like you don't agree.
Porn it's not always just about the person being curious, but sometimes there's mental disabilities that go with it. Does that make sense? So we can't just be quick to rule out that, it's dating, that's why she started it, it's for pleasure. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Some people, in their domestic households, they see violence and, abuse of their mother or their father, depending if the mother beats the dad, or they are neglected. Do you get what I mean? And porn sometimes is a solution for them. I'm not excusing porn, whatnot, but in terms of dating, I feel it needs to be discussed. Not sex per se, but compatibility. I'm not saying go do it. Nope, that's not what I'm saying. But when you're dating, you have to find out about each other. And most people just want to lie to each other. Oh no, let's just talk as friends. Let's just talk about, going out and, hanging out. It's not just friendship when you're doing dating, when you're not doing dating, when you are dating. It's compatibility too, because what excites me might not excite my partner. And you've been dating for 4 years, you get married, and then you find out that, do you get what I mean? So I feel it needs to be talked about between the couple, but not in the sense of like, yes. Do you get what I mean?
But yeah, I do get it, because you're supposed to know the interest of the partner, right? What is their interest, so that you can actually know where your limits are, or what you should do in case you, like she said, if you get married, right? At least you know, okay, my partner wants this, he likes this, or she likes this. So yeah.
But I feel like we're talking about couples and stuff. We should remember that sex is basically for married couples. It's a gift from God. So why would you watch porn if you got everything of yours intact?
No, we're not talking about watching porn. We're talking about sexting.
Okay.
We're talking about sexting, right?
We're talking about both.
Maybe I got the wrong end of the stick. But I feel if you and I are dating, not as girls, I'm a boy. If you and I are dating, right, and I know that Dumasi likes this. When it's our time for marriage, we won't cross that line. And then dating is, I saw a meme somewhere where it says, dating is a collection of information until you find out you don't like something anymore. It's like you find out that we aren't compatible, we break up. Does that make sense? You can't be mad at me because you don't excite me. That's not my fault.
But like, how will you know that?
It's not.
How will you said something about
discussing,
finding out, like telling each other what excites you and what not. How will you know that if you have everything of yours intact?
Listen, I like Christian Grey type of stuff, right? We all know Christian Grey from 50 Shades. You say, you what? You leave, isn't it? Have you discussed anything sexual there? You've just told him, I like this. You're not going into detail about there, I'll spin you around and place you on top. You've just said, this is every type of sexual act has a name, a scientific name for it. So I don't know why you have to start going into juicy details, but you can just get straight to the point, say it, agree it, next story.
But isn't that sexting?
It's not.
I don't think it's sexting.
It's not sexting.
Okay,
It's
so
stating boundaries.
we'll not go into the details of the dating aspect of it. But I would like to share a quote with you from Ellen White. She calls the watching of pornography and that sort of thing secret vice. In her book Child Guidance, she wrote, "Secret vice is the destroyer of high resolve, earnest endeavor, and strength of will to form a good religious character. All who have any true sense of what is embraced in being a Christian know that the followers of Christ are under obligation as his disciples to bring all their passions, their physical powers, and mental faculties into perfect subordination to his will. Those who are controlled by their passions cannot be followers of Christ. They are too much devoted to the service of their master, the originator of every evil, to leave their corrupt habits and choose the service of Christ." We'll be right back after this song done by the Chronicles entitled "I Was on His Mind."
I surrender all my heart to a friend so dear and kind, such a friend whose heart is filled with love. He knows that I'm weak, but he loves with tender love, such a friend whose love will never change. He healed all my soul, who would be his friend of all. He helps when I fall, he's here when I call. On a blade, he died and gave his only life. I know the night I was there on his mind. He healed all my soul, who would be his friend of all. He helps when I fall, he's here when I call. On a blade, he died and gave his only life. I know the night I was there on his mind. So wise a counselor, so mighty defender, and tender, kind and true is he. No mortal can compare with him, as love is share. Fair is he, then no fair is he. He healed all my soul, who will be his friend of all. He helps when I fall, he's here when I call. On a blade, he died and gave his only life. I know the night I was there on his mind. He healed all my soul, who will be his friend of all. He helps when I fall, he's here when I call. On a blade, he died and gave his only life. I know the night I was there on his mind. On a blade, he died and gave his only life. I know the night I was there on his mind. On a blade, he died and gave his only life. I know the night I was there on his mind.
Thank you, Chronicles, for that beautiful item of music. Now, before the break, we were talking about pornography and sexting, but we've talked about it being a two-way thing. But now, sometimes it's not a two-way thing. Sometimes it can be a one-way thing, and that's basically masturbation. So that would be the result of watching these things or being involved in this sexting thing. It could be a one-way thing. Now, according to the world, masturbation is said to be normal. It's a part of getting to know yourself better and that sort of thing. According to the Bible, it's under self-pleasure. But let's just look at it in the worldly aspect for a bit. If it's said to be normal, when do you think it crosses the line in where it's now becoming a sin or a problem?
When you keep on doing it, I feel if it's something that you continue doing it and you cannot control yourself, I think that's when you just cross the line. Mm-hmm. It's not normal once you just keep on doing it. You keep on doing it like every day or like, okay, maybe it cannot be done every day, but like a week, maybe do it like 5 or 6 times a week. So I feel that's not normal. Like, it's crossed the line because you're now being too addicted to it.
From Freud's psychosexual stages, we know that the second stage is called the anal stage, meaning that kids from 2 to 3 get pleasure from touching their genitals. Basically, you can say like some sort of small form of masturbation. But Freud does speak about like if you don't finish that stage, you will continue for the rest of your life. Basically, you'll be fixated to that. So I don't think it's normal.
Masturbation is not normal.
You don't think it's normal at all? Because
like imagine in the animal kingdom. What? How does that even happen?
When we talk into the Bible, because it's in a Christian context, we have Paul. Is it Paul or John? I don't know which. I'm confused. One of them wrote, I think, about something about not getting married. That if your man is alone, he can focus more on his master. It was Paul, right? Paul was never married. He obviously felt feelings, but he had the spirit of who? Of Jesus Christ. We have Catholics who have priests who don't get married. How do they survive for 40 to 50 years not having sexual... Of course, I don't know what they're doing behind the back door, but I assume that they don't. Because once you ask for the presence of Jesus in your life, the feelings, of course, they will not go, but you'll be able to control them. Same way John the Baptist did, same way all those other prophets who were never married, because they saw beautiful women, they came in contact with beautiful women, they had many lonely nights, but they never went and gone and took a prostitute. You never read about them fiddling with themselves. They had the... So to me, I'm sorry, I don't think masturbation is normal.
Adding on to that, I feel like people should know that virginity is a fruit of purity. It's not the definition of purity. So as much as you said, like we don't know what else they may be thinking, they may be doing. So it's not normal.
it isn't. And I was listening to while watching a very interesting poem by this girl who basically talked about masturbation in the Christian context. And when we look at the first word, it's master, right? And you know how the Bible says no one can serve two masters. And I like how she sort of brought that together, that concept together, that masturbation is sort of a way of praising yourself. And as the Bible puts it, it is a part of self-pleasure. And we all know as Christians that we're not supposed to bring any other sort of glory to ourselves or other people, but to Him only. So I'm pretty sure you guys agree with that, yeah? That it is a form of praising yourself, this self-pleasure. But what advice would you give to those who may be struggling with this, at this stage? Because we know there are a lot of young people out there who are struggling with this, who may be dating partners that are very, into this kind of thing, and they force them into like sexting and that sort of thing. What would you say to people who may be in this situation?
It's not easy to get rid of it because once it starts, it's very difficult. But I would advise that one, you find an accountability partner. When I say accountability partner, I mean someone who you trust and you know will not judge you when you tell them your problem. That, okay, I have this problem, I'm struggling with masturbation, with pornography, they'll help you out along the way. Someone who can pray with you and pray for you. Because it just doesn't have to be, okay, let me pray, don't have God help her, let this problem go, and that accountability partner leaves you. No, when they're with you, they pray with you. When they're away from you, they actually get to pray with you. And I would actually love to leave 2 chapters, I would say. I would advise them to read Psalm 32 and Psalm 51. At this point, David had also turned away from God. He had done something that was not pleasing in God's eye, but he ended up confessing because the guilt was too much. So if you feel that the guilt is too much, confess it to God. God is always there. He's ready to listen to you. Tell God, okay, God, right now I've had this for too long. I'm confessing this guilt is too long. If they read this, trust me, they will actually, I think they will find peace and it will help them out, and pray about it, obviously. And I think they should try to listen to If We Get Better by David Kalilani and Britt McCall. He's basically, there is like the last verse, it's not completely the same, but it's in relation to this. So I think, you do that.
And I feel like any addiction, you should first of all, like she said, find a confidant who will be able to talk about this to. It is embarrassing to say that I'm addicted to this. Something very controversial in our day now. But being able to talk about it, also you pray about it, like the way she said, basically tell God also that I want to fight this and I don't want this.
We also have to look at the root of the problem, because pornography, we said it could be from idol, it could be from home situations, it could be from curiosity. So you have to find a root to that solution. So if it's idleness, go outside, get away from the problem. If it's idleness again and you see that you spend too much time on your phone, get rid of your phone. Or if that's too drastic for you, have your phone during certain times. So you have your phone from 2 to 3, you answer messages, then you give it back to your mom and say, can you keep my phone for me? And you won't get it until the next day from that period of time. Absence, distance yourself from the problem, because if you were to get back into the problem, that means you obviously fall back into
I love the many programs in Malawi that for the youth that allow you to divert your concentration from all this. And especially in Malawi, they advise like football, netball, like find a hobby so that it takes your mind off things.
Yeah, and just adding to what she said, like running away from it, right? I remember someone was advising Eve. She was telling us, like, when you feel this horniness, or when you feel, leave whatever it is that attracts you to it. If it's your phone, leave it and run away. Not run away as in run, but like maybe go to town, right? Walk around and try to keep your mind off it. By the time that you're coming back, you see that, okay. And if you feel like maybe it's something that you're watching, stop watching it, or try, like I said, find an accountability partner. You can maybe have like a long phone call where you tease each other. You say the most. No, not tease, that kind of tease. Like find someone who understands you, right? And like, okay, so was like giving an example, like at her time when she was young, right? She had a friend who they would like maybe text each other with these, you have those emojis with those eyes. They'll be like, what are you doing? That kind of thing. So like it keeps your mind off that. So yeah.
And also the Bible talks about how you should, if your eye causes you to sin, take it out. But it doesn't literally mean that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you know, okay, I've got like all this stuff in my laptop, I mean, let it go.
Or delete.
Say, deleting might be hard because you know you need it. But say you have it in your memory card, throw it away or something. But yeah, and also remember that if Jesus came right now and he found you watching this, would you be comfortable if like he was sitting right here with you and like, oh yeah, let's watch, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, remember that everything that you do should be done for the glory of God.
But what are you supposed to do, especially like all of us have like little siblings, if you find it in their phone?
No, that is not right. That's not right.
He was a joke.
I feel you should sit down and talk to them. Okay, I have a cousin and I found something, not like exactly, but something that I knew would eventually lead to that. So I sat down with her and I told her, I was like, okay, what you're doing is wrong. So I had to,
and that's important. Even females are prone to porn.
Yeah.
Not just
so I had to like show her like, okay, ugabanga is easy. This is what it will lead to, and this is what will lead to. So I had to like constantly, and after that advice, I have to constantly check on her to make sure that she is not going back to that thing. Because I think that's the other thing. Like, if a child is neglected and they're just left, they feel whatever they're doing is right. But if they have someone who's constantly checking on them and helping them out, they really won't fall into that trap.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining me this week. And I'd just like to share a few steps, most of them already mentioned, on some practical ways of overcoming these problems. The first one is to pluck them. If it's friends, if it's your laptop or movies or whatever it is that causes you to get into this situation, then get rid of them. If it's friends, it can be really hard, but it's important that you distance yourself from them. Another step is try 21 days of not doing it. replace that action with something else, something more beneficial. So if it's, for example, masturbation, it's mostly done at night when you're alone. If you feel the urge coming, then like get up and like exercise or something, or like listen to some good gospel music or something like that. So replace your habit with something that's more beneficial, and then try that for 21 days straight and see how it goes. Lastly, talk to God about it. It's really important that you pray about it, because prayer changes things, and there's things will change when you pray about it, when you talk to God about it, and you'll feel yourself feeling much better about it, and also restraining from it. So that's what we had to say, but let's hear what our pastor has to say about the Christian and pornography.
Somebody once said that the secret to being a Christian is being a Christian in secret. Think about that. If you are a Christian at any point, whether you are in the presence of people or by yourself, then you are a true Christian. Now, what happens is many times, while we are alone, we'll find that we get engaged in things that seem harmless at the moment, but can actually begin to have a downward spiral in the way that our character, our lives, and it will affect our relationships in the future as well. I'm looking at things like this new thing they call sexting nowadays, where you find young people are engaged in a very sometimes casual, but we're just talking, nothing real, there's nothing happening here, I'm never going to see the person anyways, so what's the harm in that? But then you find that something begins to grow inside you. A desire for more begins to grow. And you also find that many of us now will start engaging in pornographic material. And you're saying, but I'm not doing anything. I'm not touching anyone. I'm not, what's the harm in it? You see, the problem with a lot of these type of materials is that, again, it puts you into some type of fantasy. Now, when you get into a proper relationship and you get married, now listen, I said when you get married and you are now allowed to engage in all these sexual activities, you will now go back and start thinking about that which you used to watch. Oh, my wife isn't like this. My husband isn't like this. Why aren't they doing that which I used to see? And so you will not be satisfied in your relationships because of what you would have seen. And it gets to a point where many of us are now saying, look, I can see where I've missed the mark and I need to change, but it's difficult. It is difficult. I just don't have what it takes. Christ is the one who is able to change your situation. It may look like how can I put it, a sexual Mount Everest. It is hard for you to overcome it, but you can overcome if you come to the Lord. In fact, the Bible says that whoever comes to me, I will not drive away. You just need to present yourself and say, Lord, I need to change. Remember, regardless of what you've done, Christ is able to forgive. 1 John 1 verse 9, if we confess, he is faithful and just to forgive us of our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Come to the Lord. Move away from that which you have done. Bring this burden and say, Lord, I need to change. This is not me. It cannot be me. Christians cannot be engaging themselves in such activities. Friends, it is time for us to change this behavior and just do away with this. Remember, the secret to being a Christian is being a Christian in secret.
Thank you for joining us. Join us again next week right here on Hope Channel Malawi with your program Energ-Aid. You're with me, your host Adela Chokoto. Remember, you can do all things